we're live. Welcome to the Gordox Pub, where we're brewing up something evil. Or at least I am.
Cold brew.
Oh, I have not had that much fun with a story in so long. It's completely evil. What'd she say?
Huh?
What did she say? Was your wife talking?
Yeah, she's outside though.
Oh.
You just heard her through the window. Which is
Hey,
really
Adam.
weird because you heard her through the window beyond a small fan, beyond curtains.
Well, I didn't hear much.
Yeah, she was right. You just heard her voice. I only heard a little bit more than that.
Adam, I was off screen. I was telling Rich a little bit about my upcoming, in progress, Riders of the Future submission for this quarter, which ends in 17 days, right? June 30th. That'll be the last day of the month, which it ends at midnight. Pacific. Yeah, because it's like 4 hours later here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's the L. Ron Hubbard contest. Which, whatever you want to say about contests, because I think my general feeling about contests is it's a shot in the dark. I don't know. But
I don't think it's really the L. Ron Hubbard contest. It's just the L. Ron Hubbard spawn contest.
Right. Yeah.
People too often blend that contest in with Scientology, which it has nothing to do with.
Right.
And, I think everybody has the right to believe what they want. I know the story behind Scientology, so I know a little bit more about it than those people that are just making fun of it for nothing. I have reasons to make fun of it if I wanted to. But the story is about writing speculative fiction, or the contest is about writing speculative fiction and writing it well, because if L. Ron Hubbard didn't write fiction so well, he wrote all over the place, but if he didn't write genre fiction so well, it wouldn't have mattered if he started a contest, and probably wouldn't have been able to get away with starting his religion.
Probably not.
Because from what I understand, and this is from Harlan Ellison talking about it, that L. Ron Hubbard went around to science fiction and fantasy writers at conventions for several years, asking them what they would do if they started their own religion. If they were to create their own religion, how would they create it? So I'm led to believe that part of that is related, to say the least.
But the contest is, it's free to enter. You get 4 shots a year. It's judged by professional writers. And if you win, it's a good amount of money. Plus, you get flown out to it's Hollywood, isn't it? And somewhere in California.
Wherever the venue is at that time, but yeah.
It's normally, I think, Hollywood. But I could be wrong.
LA or Hollywood.
Yeah, somewhere like that. And, you get like seminars with professional writers and stuff.
So I'm going to qualify that. It is judged by professional authors, but some of those authors, you might wonder if they got in as a professional author because of their ethnicity, because they write in ethnic terms.
Okay.
Well, some of the judges write about strictly kind of African futurism and
Oh,
that kind of thing, and that's, I mean, they're African Americans, but they're writing, you know, in that vein.
Adam, there aren't there are not categories. The
No.
Writers of the Future contest is for fantasy or science fiction.
Right. They disclude horror. They don't want horror because
Right.
they're writing for all ages. They
Well,
a
middle
lot
school.
a lot of school libraries carry the Writers of the Future volumes.
Right. So you can have horror, but it's got to be science fiction horror, and it's a harder
No,
sell.
They said they pretty much don't want horror. So
Yeah.
if you go into it thinking that they don't want horror, that's probably best because you're not gonna. You're like you said, it's a hard sell, but it's an extremely hard sell if nobody wants any horror at all.
Yeah.
So I wanted to qualify that by some of those judges. I think they send it up to 4 judges each quarter. They're not necessarily the same judges each quarter, and they I guess they send out a packet of so many to each judge, and then they round them down from there. They don't like to tell you how many entries there are, but I figured it out, or a few of us figured it out. It's more than 1,200 entries a category. What's the word?
Quarter.
What?
More than 1,200 a quarter.
Quarter, yes, quarter. Because it is quarterly. They're really particular on what they want in fiction, and me and Brett have I don't know. Well, I guess I have a theory, and Brett is going to see if he proves me right or wrong.
I don't know what you're talking about. I just have a fun story.
I have a theory that they only want certain types of fiction. That you can't write just regular science fiction. It has to include some key words of the day or key characters of the day and whatever. You can't just write about a white guy anymore. So
I don't. Well,
yeah, I'm not going to get super detailed into it, but this is my belief that if you're writing about a white guy and he's the hero, you're probably not going to win. You can write about a white girl and she'll be the hero and you could win. You could write about any other colored protagonist in any other religion than Christian, and you might gain some. But there aren't different categories for the competition. It's only illustration, and there's an illustrators of the feature and the writers of the feature. And yeah. There are a lot of the writers of the feature judges that were really great mentors for people.
Well, Adam, again.
Yeah, you can write what you want, but that doesn't. I'm not saying be disrespectful, but you write what you want. That doesn't guarantee that you're gonna get accepted. And matter of fact, there's a lot of categories you find it. See it. Prove me wrong. I would love to be proven wrong. How about that?
Well, and I would say I don't agree with Rich's assessment as far as it. Well, I would say I don't agree with the extent of Rich's assessment. So I think it helps if you have some kind of inclusive angle Put it that way.
Yeah, I believe it's politically motivated.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But if you have the right politics, I think that probably helps. It makes it an easier sell.
I think so.
I don't think that it's like. I think if I wanted to, in my relatively small collection of the Writers of the Future books, I could find examples relatively recent of white male protagonists, and
Are they gay?
no,
Did they get saved by women fairly recently?
yeah,
Yeah, they're rare, I bet you. Say it.
well, again, that would show you that.
Eli is saying hi.
Hi, Eli.
Last day of school.
Oh yeah, wow, that's kind of late.
What am I doing?
Oh, it's the middle of
I'm
June.
still working on the same page, bud.
What chat?
Adam wants to know why they have protagonists but not amateur protagonists.
What chat they want?
I know, we didn't saw that.
Because it's a pro market.
What's that?
Adam said, "How come they have protagonists but not amateur protagonists?"
Well, they have antagonists
Yeah, that's
and contagonists. But I don't think the contagonists are trying to sell the protagonists anything. And the dad joke is done.
Uh-oh. So don't kick me, I've got dad jokes. Well, so do we.
I should probably put on my glasses.
What? You don't have to see.
Yeah, I'm not doing any visual medium things.
Hey, a real artist knows where his hand is. And still needs to see what he's doing.
Not if he doesn't have a hand.
That's true. Oh yeah, we've got a couple different things that we could play, and he said it was different music this time around.
Yeah, I just set up a change of pace because we've only got 2 different kinds of tracks.
So I was watching some of that. Adam said, "I like it. It's your show." I was
Well,
watching
I'd like
some
to
of
be able
that.
to play all kinds of music, just we can't without getting stressed.
Yeah. He also said that's a great profile there, Rich. But
This,
that's
I know he's not talking about my profile.
I'm assuming. I don't see what Adam's seeing. I'm assuming that. Yeah, he said yes. So, I got about halfway through the Ethan Van Scriver video you sent.
I was trying to send it to you for a specific part.
Oh my god. Just,
Well, sometimes when I send you a link,
yeah,
it sends you where I send it from. You know what I mean?
okay.
And I was kind of hoping it was going to send it from that point,
No.
but it was just his breakdown of the comic.
Well, that starts about halfway through that 3-hour video. So, he's gone, he's done a couple pages so far, but that's about as far as I got.
And I was surprised, but he was complimentary on some stuff. So
Yeah.
I
think
like
it's
the
funny
idea
is-
that I like the idea that he breaks it down as a comic artist,
Yeah.
and he talks about different principles like sorry, I was interrupted. Tangents and different camera angles and how important it is to recognize faces and to have facial expressions and hands, expressive hands, and, which is actually what I've been working on a lot through here is trying to get believable expressions and hands. Sorry to interrupt you, but that was what I was sending it to you for. Just like when I sent you that Wolverine first page.
Okay, so that part I don't think I've got.
Huh?
Well, I got this. Just in case you didn't know, this is Wolverine #1, page 1, which was underneath the video.
Oh, it didn't link the page.
Yeah, I was like, okay, no problem.
That's funny. That's funny because I'm like, why wouldn't you? You know. Well, you can.
Plus, I can just Google that information.
Right.
Sure
Right. The first page of the first Wolverine comic, not. That's not a dude, but thanks. Is just Wolverine on the rooftop. It's a splash page.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really a splash page because you don't have the title sequence underneath of it, but it's basically a splash page, and it's there's like 2 small caption boxes and then I am Wolverine with the Wolverine title sequence or title dressing appearing at the top. So it was just interesting that like the first appearance of Wolverine, he's on in Wolverine, not the first appearance of Wolverine, but the first appearance, the first page of Wolverine, the magazine Wolverine, not X-Men, not Hulk 182 or 181 and 182. Was just him on a rooftop, and then the story begins after that. But it's like him squatted down on a rooftop, and I'm sure you've seen it, you know, once you actually see it. But what I was sharing was the pencils, and I was, you know, thinking how different we're doing it on the first page than he did.
So that's not the Frank Miller one, right?
What's that? No, it's John Buscema and Klaus Janson.
Okay.
Frank Miller didn't do Wolverine until after that.
I was actually asking,
Fourth 1 and 1.
as Adam said, first Wolverine, the miniseries, or the one with Patch on the front?
The first issue of Wolverine, not the miniseries, the first issue of Wolverine. And yeah, well, I don't know, I think it does have Patch on the front, but the first picture is in his Wolverine suit without his hat on. Wait, no, he does have his mask on.
So, what I'm looking at, it's like on a bamboo roof or something?
Yeah, terracotta.
Okay.
Well, that's the way I took it, but I could be wrong. I often am.
Move the back there. Move the back. Oh, yeah.
Thanks. I think. What's really hard is to not accept the temptation to just go overboard on all the detail. This is background stuff, and it shouldn't be all that.
Detailed.
I don't know why I think this dude should be a more important part.
Alright.
You know who I'm talking about, right?
I think. Adam wants to know, do you usually lay in your backgrounds after, or do you sometimes lay in perspective and figure that out before you lay down the characters?
Well, when I have a background, right now this is Street Party, so it's mainly focusing on them. And when we end up deciding what we're gonna do for, well, I think I'm gonna probably do grayscale, but it'll probably be just really dark in the background so that you get more detailed scale coming forward, because the most important part of the story right now has nothing to do with the background. The next page, there's some backgrounds. And I had some loose backgrounds in on the see the fan coming into action now. I had some loose backgrounds on the layouts, but as I started drawing it, I wanted enough size to get some detail. I'm going to go back in here and create a little bit more detail. Yeah, this guy that looks like he's in an anime. I almost want him to be a false lead or something. Like his scent to be all over everything because he's been following her around.
Well, typical for next year. Sorry, next year, right?
School year next year.
Yep, one day. You know, but that's why we want to have to go that. Just do that. Next year, that. Right.
Next year, yeah.
Next year, right? Right.
It's interesting that half an hour ago he didn't want anything to do with me. Now I'm streaming and the dog's gone.
I was bored. So I saw a video on, it was a list video. It was like, I don't remember, like maybe like 7, I suppose I can look it up, whatever. Oh, basically signs that you're a better writer than what you think you are. And I'm going through it, like, okay, none of these are really proof of anything, but okay. But
That's the real trick, isn't it?
yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things that the guy was like, don't confuse sales with talent. And that kind of what we were talking about last time, where I said I think you kind of have to figure out what your real goal is. You got to figure out if you want to be writing or if you want to make a living through publishing. And now that they're, and I said again, those are not exclusive concepts. Like you can want to be a writer and get lucky enough to also make your living from it. But I kind of think that you kind of need to know where your goal actually is to help with gauging success. Because if you want to be writing, that's that thing where, you can be incredibly talented and the sales just aren't there. And it's not because the writing's bad. That's a market issue. It's a publishing thing. It's not the writing. But if you know it's good.
But sometimes it is.
Well, I agree. I'm not saying that it never isn't. Again, it's not.
No, I'm not trying to fight. I'm just saying sometimes it is. I have a comment that I'll make when you're done, if I can remember it.
Well, I just thought that was
that important.
I was this idea that don't confuse talent with sales. I thought was useful. On the other hand, if you're never selling anything at all,
so
that might also tell you that your talent's not there.
David Farland said, and I completely agree, that if you're a bestseller, there's a reason why. Now, that doesn't mean that your prose is great or you've got great art or whatever, but there is something that people want from you. So who determines whether or not it's art or whether it's good prose or what? The people do, right? Is it your peers? Is it your readers? Is it the people who spend money on it? So what is your gauge, right? Larry Correa's gauge is obviously how many people buy, right? For him to sell books and to be a selling author. It's not about best-selling, because New York Times bestsellers doesn't mean that they actually sell by the Niels ratings the best. But I find it interesting that people talk about, oh, you can't sell well, or you shouldn't be gauging how well you sell by, or how well you write by how well you sell. Well, there's damn good writers that are never going to be found, and I'll agree with that. But on the other hand, if you're selling very well and very consistency, you're hitting something. You are supplying something that is in demand and lacking. So, Edgar Rice Burroughs said that he only wrote for money and that he never wanted to be a writer and all this other stuff. Chuck Dixon was asked if he was a hack because of that. Chuck Dixon answered, no, he was fucking with you. Like, that's I'm not quoting him exactly, paraphrasing him, but he's basically saying he was joking, he was being facetious, because Rice Burroughs had a lot of experiences and a lot of jobs, and he certainly didn't have to end up being a writer to make money. He had been in the Indian Wars. He had been a railroad cop. He had done all kinds of interesting things. Oh, we've discussed this already, Adam.
That's why I'm just putting it up there.
The reason that John Carter of Mars wasn't better received is because they wanted to teach Andrew Stanton a lesson. Because originally the Mars series was supposed to be filmed by Robert Rodriguez. And then Robert Rodriguez credited Sin City direction to Frank Miller partially. And since Frank Miller wasn't in the Directors Guild, they threw Robert Rodriguez out of the Directors Guild, and they took that movie away and gave it to somebody else. And they started filming with one guy with a certain budget, and then they changed, and Andrew Stanton really wanted the series, the trilogy that they had planned, and he was determined to do it his way. And what they did was they advertised it as John Carter, not John Carter of Mars, which, if they had added the of Mars, there would have been a bigger fan base. And they kept messing with his budget and messing with the time that he had to get it out. And Disney basically made that movie tank to teach Andrew Stanton a lesson. Because prior to that, Andrew Stanton was their only Oscar winner, and he had like 3 movies that were Oscar winners. But that was his first live action one, and he took it over in the middle. And they also changed it from what the original story was. Yeah, the marketing was all screwed up, but they did it intentionally, and they did it to teach Andrew Stanton a lesson. Because they felt that he was gaining too much power. They did the same thing with Dustin Hoffman with Ishtar. He really, really, really wanted to make that movie, and he had enough pull that he kind of forced the studio into making that movie, and then they tanked it every chance they got.
I was saying it was originally called The Princess of Mars.
Well, the first book was A Princess of Mars. Yeah, there was a lot of inconsistencies and wrongness to it. I think Andrew Stanton did a hell of a job with what he had, and he had to cobble a lot of stuff together to get there. I would have loved to see sequels. There is a Facebook page and a couple of other movements to try to. They're calling it Take Us Back to Barsoom. So there's a lot more people that still want to get back there. Okay. Originally, this guy's face was much more snackable.
That's true.
Well, I've got it out here because I think I'm going to put these 2 panels together. She's obviously blowing it this way, and I'm going to put her walking this way at the bottom of the panel, because that way she's going towards the next page, which we really want to see. That way she's leading us, and he's going to be still turning. But I think I'm going to do some, after I've inked him, I'm going to do some white flecks to show that there's still a cloud of that powder floating around his head. And that way I condense those two panels.
Okay.
Well, just in case you were wondering what the hell I'm doing. I'm pretty happy with the fact that we've got a very, very diverse culture going on here. And we didn't do it necessarily to be diverse, but I wanted to show that it wasn't just white people, because I realized about 14 or 15 people into it, I'd only drawn white people. And I was like, well, somebody ain't gonna like that. And, you know, it's not really very realistic these days anymore either. If you're going someplace that's strictly like a white community, it's probably a shut-up community. I don't know of any communities, maybe gated communities. I don't even know if there's any gated communities that are like that anymore. So I didn't want to be unrealistic with it.
Did you answer Adam's question?
Probably not. I don't know, because I don't know what the question was.
Okay, so he wants to know who it's a she blowing a kiss to.
Huh?
Well, he said, who is he blowing a kiss to? It's a she.
Yeah, it's a she. It's a girl. See, boobs here.
Can't see that. It's too high up.
Oh. Boobs here. I don't know. The face should look like a girl. It's probably the tattoos that you want that's throwing them off. But I thought that
Or
was
Adam is just gendering her. Oh my goodness! Call the police.
I thought it was very feminine movement. So,
I do that all the time.
blowing a kiss to the person off panel with the Sims, which we're going to show right now.
Adam, you're all good.
What's white pencil?
You're drawing.
Huh? That's not white. That's pretty dark. It's the darkest thing on the page. What?
It's not ink, man. It's not as easy to see as what you might think. So
That's why I keep asking you about it, and you're like, "Oh yeah, we can see it fine."
you can
Apparently.
see it fine. But
Apparently
I
not.
also know what I'm looking at. I'm also very confident in once it gets inked, because I've seen this process. I know how it's like. Even after I think it's done, and you're like, "Oh no, it's not done," and you just keep going. There's a meme, not a meme. There's a clip of the guy that played Goodwill Hunting.
Which one?
The guy that was in Born Identity.
Matt
Damon. Yeah, Matt Damon talking about. Oh my God, I'm terrible at names tonight. Jack Nicholson.
Don't feel bad. I am tonight, and pretty much every night on camera. Off camera, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So
Sometimes.
Matt Damon was talking about The Departed, Jack Nicholson, and talks about how there's one scene where he kills this woman, and in the script it just calls for killing somebody, and then Jack Nicholson asks for it to be a woman or something like that because that's extra creepy, and it's just a big series of. But if you leave the camera rolling, he just keeps making it worse or better, depending on how you look at it. He definitely makes it creepier and creepier and creepier. So, you It's just one of those things you think you're done, or I think you're done, and you're like, oh no. And then it just gets better. So, and as Adam said, especially through the video, you can mostly see it, but inked it is going to look totally different. I agree. So, you went all black on my end. Now you're back. I don't think so, Adam. But did he go black screen for you too? Because that would mean it was Rich's stuff instead of my stuff. I assumed it was my.
Well, I don't know where either one of you are, or you know, whether or not it would be me in perspective of you guys, but I do know that it's not telling me I have any problems at all.
Oh, I assumed it was me. Up until I saw, was it something I said?
It's in California.
California? Oh. I have not been to California in years. Not since I lived in Vegas. My wife's old boss had a place in Newport Beach. Got to stay there. It was nice. Had a deck on the ocean that had glass walls, so you could go out there and just right on the beach. It was great. That's probably me.
Well, it's nice to know.
Yeah, I assume it was my network.
Well, I said a few minutes ago I should put my glasses on, but I never put my glasses on. I think that'll help me to see. Perhaps, once I stick myself in the eye with the arms. Wishful thinking.
Oh, I feel like I'm being dumb. Have you heard something about beige flags?
No.
I saw a clickbaity title of an article about beige flags. I ignored it. And my wife just sent me something, and it was about my husband's beige flag. And I'm like, oh God, is this a thing? Do I have to know what this is? Adam said, hey, Rich, what is the end goal of the book to publish, I would guess? Have you done that process? Well, I can answer part of this. Yes, it's to publish the book. I'm writing it. Rich is...
Right now, so yeah, I mean, that's the hopeful outcome.
Yeah.
But we're doing it on stream because we have several goals, right? We're trying to show, that you can do whatever you're trying to do if you persevere.
Yeah.
And we're trying to show that some days we have good days, some days we have bad days. Like, we're really trying to show that process too. I mean, hopefully, in the end, we're going to crowdfund, even though people will have seen it, develop. They won't know some of the stuff behind the scenes, and they won't see the lettering until that's all done. So they may get the gist of the story, but they won't be able to read the actual story until it's all done. But hopefully it'll be a novelty because people could watch it and interact and put their input in, tell us, if they didn't like the angle, tell us that looks like a dude, that kind of stuff. So it is to publish, but it's also to help other people that are maybe afraid or timid to try.
Oh my God, it's like the Kevin Smith speech. I
What?
don't know if you've ever seen Kevin Smith. Like, Kevin Smith years ago released video of him giving speeches at a college. And they were entertaining. I'm not going to lie. But one of the things he talked about was why he got into making films. He's like, why not? Why not me? Why can't it be? Because everyone, you want to do something like this. Everyone tells you how it's a stupid idea. But somebody's got to be able to make these, and why not you? So, our brains tell us all the time things that, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, my ideas aren't whatever. It's all kinds of stuff.
I mean, that's what it's about. I mean, I just finally said, if I don't do it, we're not going to do it. It's not going to happen if you just don't do it. So, like you say, your friends going through the same process, right? It is a lot of work, and it's a lot more than a lot of people think. Especially, hands and heads are the first thing that people look at, but everything in sequential art eventually is going to come around. The background has got to look real enough to believe that they are taking place in this place, right? So if your friend is working on a book and they finished 3 volumes, right?
What it says.
They're welcome to stop on here and post a link to where they're selling it from, or we're about supporting other artists and writers and stuff too. So
yep.
It's not just about us by any means. So I guess what I'm trying to say is when Brett says the end goal is to publish,
it is.
But it wasn't like we're not relying on this comic book to make money to live,
Oh yeah.
It's not like without this comic book being a success, we'll die or some shit. So I just wanted to kind of, our mission statements also to help people. That's what I started this channel for, is to help people in any way I can. Like I'm already an illustrator. Me and Brett are both published writers. So Patreon.
Yeah, he can put a Patreon link up, can he?
There's one way. I don't know how easy it is to generate money on Patreon unless you've got a big following.
Right, that's what he's saying. At this point, it seems like they're doing the book, but for him was the easy part. The marketing is the real struggle for him.
Yeah, tell him stop on one of these streams, and we'll. If he can't post it, like if he's got a Twitch account, he can post the link on Twitch. I don't know if he can post the link on YouTube.
No, but I bet you I can put it up on screen.
Well, we can put it up on screen, but you can actually post a link. You can post a link because Brett should be able to post a link. If not, we can do some finagling to be able to get him to, because he should be a mod. Anyway, we're welcoming if he wants to post a link that might help him make some make some money from that, and or get a following or whatever. We don't even ask that he do it in return. You know what I mean? We're just hoping that we can help, and hopefully somebody else out there later on, if we need the help, will do that. But it's not a requirement.
Adam said it's actually a little for 18 plus, and maybe not a straight post. That's one of the struggles. Well, this channel is technically not for children. Josh knows we never curse on here.
Well, I mean, yeah, like every time we post that it's not specifically for children. But if they want to, that's all they have to do is say this isn't necessarily for children. I mean, it's not necessarily adult centered, but if
Adam
they
said it's
wanna
not
say
wrong.
if they want to say it's rated R or whatever, that's fine. We'll still share the post.
Adam said it's not Ross by any means, just the main character is nude and going through purgatory. Other than that, it's quite a cute story.
Okay.
I mean, if you draw it right, it could still be cute. It's
Well, I'm just saying, we're offering to help.
Yeah.
No strings attached. Just show up and, if they give a like and subscribe, we'd appreciate it, but it's not necessary. We want to help everybody that's struggling the same struggle, or doing the same, having the same struggle. Sometimes I'm better off just looking at the page. This is one of them. You get my meaning anyway. If they want to show up and put a link in the chat, they're welcome to. We'll share it.
My son came up with this idea for using crescent roll dough, like you get out of a can, and turning it into cheesy bread. And at one point in time, he was baking it in a ceramic baking dish. I could see butter bubbling all around it. And at some point in time, it was taken out of that, put on top of a cookie sheet. It eventually got cooked, and it got all nice and crispy, and it's so delightful. I think it was a massive pain, and it was a series of accidents that led to this, but my son just brought me some more, and I am happy for it. And
I thought you were going to tell us that was part of the. He wants to get as much leftover money as he can.
well, he might. The other day, I was like, gave him $100 just in case. I don't know why. I had it in cash, and I was like, here, just in case. He spent all of it. I was like, what the? Okay. Whatever. I haven't had to cook in days. I haven't had to go to Walmart in a day. This is kind of nuts. So I'm not all that upset with it. He's also learning a lot about cooking, so that's kind of nice. He's scared of letting anything get much color, though. Like he's just, I mean, he understands that, you cook chicken till it's white all the way through and all that kind of stuff. But just the idea of browning something, like, getting a little char on it, he's scared of that. Like, he was going to pull this bread way earlier than I would have, and I was like, just now starting to get brown on top. Like, because the cheese was all there and bubbling. I was like, just put it in there for a little bit longer. It'll be fine. It ended up being in there for a lot longer, but it was all delicious. Not a sponsor, but they could be.
Oh, yes. Not a sponsor, but they could be.
Oh, those things are so good.
You notice that I pulled this my sweaty hand page over so it doesn't drip on.
Oh, that is not what I thought that paper was for.
The white paper?
I thought that was more for, like, smudging the...
Yeah. It was to keep from smudging with my sweaty hands.
Okay. What do you mean there are two people? There are always two people.
Two people watching me saying, I guess.
Oh, okay. Nope, that's not me, Adam. Well, my screen says 3, but we're also simultaneously watching or streaming on Twitch and YouTube. And we're happy for any views. Yes, we would always love the comments. Always love it when you guys hit like, subscribe, follow, all the things.
And, yeah, I mean, comment whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, we're not looking for bad comments, but if they're constructive in any way.
See, that was one of those things. So, that Ethan Van Skyver video that you sent me, he's critiquing this one person's handling of the female form, basically, and like her hips being a little too low or something, and
Well, yeah,
I'm like,
from that angle.
and part of me is like, yeah, if you say so, I didn't notice anything wrong.
Well,
And some of that is, that's a professional, and he does this for a living, and he's, I am
right.
not.
Well, that's exactly what it is. I mean, some people the person there. Okay. Part of that whole thing is that there's a claim that none of that comic book was redrawn. It was drawn by this one person. But it was redrawn because there were original pages that were released, and
Awesome.
they are not in the comic book. They are changed from the comic book. And one of the there's an artist that Ethan recommended to Eric, and he knows that particular artist's style. See what I mean?
Right.
So what he's doing is pointing out that not only are the hits off, but he knows that it's Kane and White because Kane and White draws hits off like that. You see what I mean?
Right.
I don't agree with 100% of his critiques because some of them are nitpicky, and I've looked at enough of his work that I could nitpick his work if I wanted to also. But there are really gems in his work, talking about camera angles and not, the expectations of the reader and how to train the reader's eye on the page, and composition. There's a lot of stuff that he talks about that's valid, and if you really listen, you can tell what's just smart ass shit or nitpicky shit and what's accurate. Like he's saying that the woman that drew that comic book can't draw faces. All of her faces are ugly. I don't know if you've got that far into it. If you're just talking about the cover, then you probably haven't gotten too far into it.
I'm not too far in, but he said that already.
But if you look at her faces, they are all pretty much either ugly or flat. They don't have any emotion on them. He's talking about proportion because, like, her heads get smaller as they go, and it's just the main character's head that gets smaller. Other heads don't, but all of the faces are ugly, and he's qualifying it by saying he's not sure if they're all meant to be ugly.
Well, Adam said, first off, he said, your viewership has increased by 100% by the last time he watched. Awesome. Keep watching. Let's see if that keeps happening.
Well, what you don't see is what the real stats are because they show up and they leave, and sometimes sometimes you can tell and sometimes you can't. And sometimes our viewership is half on Twitch, which if you're not on Twitch, you won't see.
So Adam also said, this is my philosophy. I don't think critiques are asked for them unless I don't know what's wrong with the work. I see a lot of critiques on perfectly fine drawings of, say, females that just aren't optimal alpha females, but they aren't wrong. If all the proportions and forms were drawn by some ideal structure, then everything would look the same, and that would be boring. I was thinking about that in writing terms because I've seen, like Martin Shoemaker and I have had a discussion about this because he was saying don't use things like Grammarly or Pro Writing Aid. And I generally say that it's not a bad thing to run your prose through one of those. But I have a degree in English. I've been teaching it for years, and I still run it through a program like that. And then I ignore most of it. But, occasionally it catches something that I missed. But Martin's argument is that if you are not confident in your own writing skills or your own voice, you'll have a voice that sounds like Grammarly and not like you, which I get. And I was reading that The Lies of Locke Lamora, and there was one section in there I was going through. I was like, I really did not like the prose because he took like, I don't know, 6 words to say what could have been said in one. And like, why? Just like, it's kind of awkward the way he said it anyway, and it was just. But this is the kind of thing that Martin Shoemaker would say. That's his voice. You don't want to lose that. I guess.
No, that's actually not his theory alone. That's
I know.
Orson Scott Card says your first draft should be your only draft because that's your voice as it flows out. Not that you couldn't correct stuff, but it should only be one draft. Just find that interesting that, you know, they're not saying the same thing, but they're kind of saying the same thing. And, you know, I'll rewrite shit as I'm going over and over and over again, but I don't think that's redrafting. I just think that's making corrections as I go.
I used to have a friend that swore by saying "suck" is not a style. Suck is not a style. Lovely.
Except for then you look at stuff like 50 Shades of Grey.
I think that kind of strikes at that whole sales as a sign of talent, because
so who did it sell to?
Not me.
It didn't, no, but it wasn't meant to sell to you. It was originally fan fiction, but what was it originally fan fiction for?
Wasn't it basically a ripoff of the Twilight series? Oh, hi, Mark.
It was fan fiction for the Twilight series, but it was fulfilling women sexual fantasies, whether it was ridiculous or not, which Gilbert Gottfried fucking hung a light on. That's one of the greatest things you'll ever hear is Gilbert Gottfried reading 50 Shades of Grey. But like I said, what David Farland was saying was that there's a reason that it sold. The reason that it sold might have just been the audience was there for that, and there was such a dearth that they were willing to accept garbage prose to get that fulfillment. But that's no less valid of having a product to sell that people want to buy. Is it good? A lot of people swear by it. They love those books. They read them and like that. I couldn't get through it without laughing, but there's a lot of prose that I can't get through. Here's one. Michael Sciarra's I want to say Gods and Generals, but I think that's wrong. It's in that series, though.
Well, I'm sorry, but it still sounds to me like we're arguing that
the Killer Angels. I can't. I have a hard time getting through the Killer Angels. Like I ended up giving up on it. But Joss Whedon read it and said, "Oh, this story needs to be told in the future," and he wrote Serenity from it, or he wrote Firefly from it. So, but it's really difficult to read unless you're you don't care about not knowing who the characters are or what they feel or whatever until you get like a really heavy load of it.
Yeah, but I still say that argument fundamentally contradicts the idea that that you can have prose that's better than someone else's prose. Because if the determining factor is what sells, there's a lot of crap that sells well and it disappears forever, never to be thought of again. And there are things that don't sell well that become classics.
So
and
what you're doing though is you're defining it by your opinion, because what you think may never ever be around again or whatever, somebody else thinks is the greatest thing they've ever read. There's always someone like that. So
yeah, there's the idea that there is better prose. Again, if we're going to say all prose is equal, then
I'm not going to say that at all.
Well, then that's just an opinion, and all opinions are equal. And
well, you're talking about prose, and I'm not talking about prose. I'm talking about a good story. A good story.
If all stories are equal, because someone is going to like it, someone liked it, and all opinions are equal. I think that's.
We're going into that everything or nothing again. It can't be.
I didn't go into the everything or nothing. You did.
You just said everything is equal. If it's equal, it's not equal. I didn't say it was equal.
What makes it not equal?
What makes it equal?
Because if I argued that it wasn't equal, and you said that it was.
No, I did not. I said if it's the best seller, there's a reason. That is not the same thing as what you're saying.
Okay, well, explain it to me. How is it that when we say that just because something sells well, and we could look at it and go, yeah, that story is not that good, but hey, it sold, so it must be good because, and you even talk about it's a dearth. There's a dearth of good stories, so whatever happens to sell well, because that's all that there is, that was good. It wasn't good.
So you don't think that all those people that bought a story like it, they just bought it for what? Because somebody told them to?
That's like saying McDonald's is really good food because a lot of people buy it.
A lot of people like McDonald's. I don't necessarily like McDonald's, but a lot of people do.
I don't think you're going to find a lot that are going to go say, oh yeah, McDonald's is fine dining.
They may not call it fine dining, but they might be their favorite meal.
That's great. But
ask Eli. I'm just saying.
Adam said hype can make sales, but the book is still bad. That happens all the time. Yep.
If you're a bestseller, you're a bestseller for a reason. Somebody's buying them.
But that doesn't mean it was because your story was good or that your prose was good.
No, everybody hated it. That's why they bought it. That makes no sense to me.
So why this is you going into the everything or nothing. Oh, everyone bought it because they hate it? No, they bought it because they...
Why would it be a bestseller if the story stunk? Do you go around telling people, oh, go buy this book because it sucks?
No. But again, hype can do it. People start talking about it. They want to know what's going on. And even though it's not that good, it becomes something that people are talking about. So... they want to be included in the conversation. So they be included in the conversation. You go out and you buy the product. It does happen. It happens all the time. That's why I think there are good writers that never, because they don't get the hype. And the idea that if you're not selling well, you're not writing good quality product, that's just, that ignores everything having to do with marketing. Because why have marketing if all you need is a good story? everything good?
I mean,
Well, you muted. I assume it was something that was going on in the background. So I'm just saying, is everything good?
I muted because I was talking to my wife because
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's all good.
she was ringing in on the subject that she read a book because of the hype, and she was dissatisfied with it, and she finished it out of spite. But on the other hand, she read a bunch of books that we wouldn't appreciate, and she wanted to. So I'm saying, just because it's a bestseller doesn't mean it's the best prose or the best story, but there's a reason for it to be a bestseller. So David Farland was saying they're worthy of study because they're worthy of figuring out what that reason is, what that tapped. And that's what I agree with. I mean, you're off into a different point than what I was trying to make. So I just, felt like I'll just shut up and let you make your point because it's not what I was talking about. I think if it's a bestseller, there's a reason for it to be a bestseller.
Adam,
Period.
those are fight words.
That's it. There's a reason. You may not agree with the reason. You may not like the reason. I may not agree with the reason or like the reason. But I think there is a reason.
That reason doesn't have to be because it was a good book or a good story.
But it could be a good book or a good story to somebody else than me or you.
Adam, you're woefully misinformed. Gatsby was a great. First off, F. Scott Fitzgerald was a writer of quality and renown before.
I'm not fighting words for you, huh?
Yeah, I know. As I'm literally wearing a shirt.
I hope you don't like The Outsiders.
Oh God, Outsiders is terrible. But
that's
no, there is so much in Gatsby that's amazing. Just absolutely phenomenal. Like, if nothing else, the first few pages of Chapter 3 are a masterclass in understanding the use of tense to create for effect. And it's not just the show time period. It's so awesome. Because in Chapter 1, you have a really crappy little tiny party. Chapter 2, you have a bigger party. It gets a little wilder, but it's still relatively terrible. And then the third chapter, we change tense in the middle of the story, right at the beginning of the chapter, and it creates this sense of Gatsby's parties being eternal. In that moment where, because a lot of juniors tend to read it, it tends to be a junior book. But for everyone that reads that book for the first time, that Gatsby party is described in present tense because we all get to be part of that party. The other parties we're just watching, but Gatsby's we are part of. And it's brilliant. But that's just me. I happen to deeply love Gatsby.
And I know some people that are like, that's the most boring book in the world. So,
Oh, I know. Everyone in my family looks at me like I have three heads whenever I start going on about how amazing Gatsby is.
To me, it's like, it's an opinion. Like, you have a right to your opinion. I may not like, if I hadn't watched the movie, a matter of fact, if you hadn't have been so passionate about it, I wouldn't even have watched the movie. But if I hadn't watched the movie, I never would have known what went on. I wouldn't even have bothered. But there are other things that I read on my own that other people are the same way about.
Oh, I know.
Like, I know I read Shakespeare on my own. I didn't read Shakespeare because anybody told me I had to read it. I just read it on my own. Now, I didn't read every one of his plays, but I did read quite a few. I just had this. I don't know. I just had this need to read it.
And there have been other books that people consider to be classics that I absolutely despise. So,
Right, The Outsiders.
yeah, that's because that's terrible. It was written by
Well,
a 16-year-old.
That's the thing we were just saying. That a lot of people consider it to be a classic. Matter of fact, it's still on shelves today.
Terrible book. That's a terrible book. Farewell to Arms. Terrible.
I didn't think The Outsiders was a terrible book or a movie. But I guess I grew up in a different place. I related it to a different set of circumstances than you did, I guess. But I'll end it with that because we've had this discussion before.
Adam said, I read all of Jack Kerouac's books and had the same experience. Like maybe you had to be there.
Okay, so qualify that. The same experience as what? Was it a good experience or was it a bad experience?
Oh, it was Gatsby. Well, okay.
Well, is that but that doesn't tell me if it's a good experience or a bad experience to you. Oh, okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, okay.
So Adam said, for those of you on Twitch,
well, we'll do this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes it a lot easier.
And yeah, I mean, it's an opinionated thing. It's all relative, really. How many people preach that Hemingway was like the greatest writer, or
Oh, he is a good writer. I just don't like A Farewell to Arms.
well,
I just
really
don't like that book.
it depends on who you ask. Like I'm not knocking anyone really. I'm just saying it depends on who you ask.
Right.
Like, you listen to that interview that I sent that I linked to you with Orson Scott Card, and you should hear how he talks about James Joyce.
Oh,
It is not in a good light at all.
yeah.
And I've heard that there's like two different schools of thought. One is James Joyce's, and the other is Ernest Hemingway's. And Hemingway's theory is you shouldn't use a 50-cent word where a 10-cent word should do, or a penny word should do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And James Joyce is, well, if they don't understand it, they should look it up. So they're two different schools of thought. One is I'm writing for a public that I want to understand me, and the other one is I'm writing for a public that I want to educate. I don't know. Like, I honestly can't say anything about James Joyce because I haven't read any James Joyce, and I don't think I will.
Adam said, I love how Hemingway's I love Hemingway's turn of phrases, but Old Man and the Sea put insomniacs to sleep. My appreciation for Hemingway came after I started reading Virginia Woolf, and it went the exact opposite. Like, where Hemingway is sparse, Virginia Woolf is really dense. And out of the two, I prefer Hemingway. And that thing with, the audience should go look up the word. Overall, if it's use the word that's right, but if it's super esoteric, you're kind of being a putz. And you're just trying to show off.
Well, I used to figure the importance of the word was what you mean. Now I figure the importance of the word is what the character means. So don't write a professor language if you're writing a workman. it's possible, but it's rare that if you got somebody that is highly educated, they're going to be, a ditch digger. And that's no commentary against any blue collar, white collar, whatever. Just saying that they run in different circles, speak a different language. Like you say, swear like a sailor, right? When you're in a group of sailors, you're going to expect to swear, right? You're not going to expect them to break out highly educated phrasing.
Oh, Adam said, "Let me go get my dictionary. I'll let you know." I'm enjoying the comment section tonight. Mark, I have a sneaking suspicion that you know what esoteric means just fine. Like, I don't think I'm a slouch when it comes to vocabulary, but, I can also recognize people generally that I think you might know a few words.
Right. Considering, that we're in the same Regis group.
Yeah. I've read your stuff. I know.
Mark, didn't you used to be a teacher too? As well.
What's the pretentious word for slouch?
Pretentious word for what?
Slouch. Another author I was led to because of the hype is Jim Butcher. Oh.
I don't know. I like Jim Butcher, but I guess I gotta say I haven't read a lot of his stuff. I don't think I'd be modeling my prose after him, but
I could not get into his books. And I've heard him talk, and I think it's great. And I think it's great that he has a series that sold and all that stuff. And I think it's great. Don't get me wrong. But it wasn't for me. I didn't like the TV show. I didn't like the book. Which is stupid because I should like it, but I
don't think you like the TV show.
Well,
I read the first book. It was all right.
Yeah. Adam said he is no Brandon Sanderson.
Well, I've read stuff from Brandon Sanderson's that wasn't all that great either.
Yeah. But, so that was the other thing that I thought was actually that video that I was watching. Actually,
you like a lot of his stuff, though.
It was an interesting thing that this guy said about writers, in that he likened it to basketball. He's like, so there are some people who are, if they go down and play basketball, they're going to be one of the better players on the court, right? They tend to dominate their local game, but they're not playing against LeBron James. And when we write and we try to sell, we are playing against LeBron James because our books get put right next to him. And, you can't really... Is it your fault when somebody's name outsells yours because you haven't made your name yet? So, if you only have so much money as a reader and you happen to know whatever this writer is one that I've read before and enjoyed, or I could try this new person who I've never seen before, I can understand going with the tried and true, even as some of them get worse and worse. So, Yeah.
Guess that's very true with some and very not true with others. Depends on, I guess, depends on who they are, really. But some of them, seems like when they get successful, they feel like they don't have to work as hard. That's I just finished reading a book like that, which I haven't read any of their previous books, but it certainly seemed like it was more of a they've sold, so we know they're bestsellers, and because they're bestsellers, we know that just putting their name on it's going to sell it. It's the same thing as, I don't know, I don't know if you've ever read like Robert Ludlum's books, but
Yeah.
as far as him writing, he's dead, so people have taken over writing for him. But the family have, family had pretty much selected who was going to be writing for him. Eric Van Lustbader wrote for him for a while, but he actually was helping him write in his last days, and some of the stuff that was released posthumously, and even the Bourne books, had Eric Van Lustbader's touch to him. But the guy that picked it up after, which I just read a advanced reader's copy of one of them, and the guy that picked it up after, Bourne was incapable. He wasn't doing anything for himself. There was 3 women in that book with him. All 3 of them beat his ass, and all 3 of them saved his ass. So, but we know from, even if you just want to take the Bourne Identity movie, which this writer apparently didn't watch the whole thing of the movie, didn't read the books, or both. But he's not capable at all. He's not running for a certain distance, and this is literally supposed to take place between the time that his wife dies in the movie, and she never dies in the book, by the way. In the trilogy, she never dies. But between the time his wife dies in the movie and this book, he's already slept with like 4 or 5 different women, and he's had a relationship with somebody before her, with Treadstone. And if you read the Bourne books, then you know that he didn't get into it with Treadstone. He got into it with Medusa, and that was in Vietnam. So I don't know if they're trying to mix the book and the movie, but the author just managed to make him seem like he's incapable of doing anything. He can't defend himself against women. Can't defend himself. He kills one guy, but he can't defend himself against anybody. Everybody's rescuing him and saving him, and it's kind of a hard sell to a Bourne fan, Definitely didn't do it justice.
See, I wonder if that's some of the, when they always wanted to make James Bond, we need to revamp James Bond so he appeals to a modern audience, which really means they want a character who's not James Bond, but they want to use the James Bond name.
Right.
And I wonder if that's kind of what they're doing with Jason Bourne, because reasons.
Well, the books are I don't know. It's really hard to describe because the one that I read was half prequel and half sequel, which is really weird in the first place. And it didn't really do anything for Bourne as a character. It didn't make the character grow, which is what we hear all the time, right?
Right.
It didn't. It didn't actually. It shouldn't. It's like Furiosa. You know, the Mad Max Furiosa. My biggest problem with that movie, it's not really a Mad Max movie. You didn't have to have Mad Max in it at all. That and the stupid point of running away with nothing and then running back. But
Right.
I could have even accepted that if it was, something else. It wasn't supposed to be necessarily Mad Max. That Bourne book shouldn't have been Bourne. It should have been these other women agents. That would have been fine. Just like we were talking about doing in Her Majesty's Secret Service instead of a new James Bond as a girl. There's plenty of 00 agents that are women. Why not tell their stories?
Right.
It's the same thing. So imagine Jason Bourne is not the only spy,
I know.
right? So why not have Treadstone be, have several different women in it? It apparently does in the books, but they're just all, saving Bourne.
That was one of the things. The novel that I've been given to the group. That last chapter with that character that you liked. When I thought about him, I was like,
The character that I liked.
yeah, you like the
I
fact
don't know if
that
there's a character I didn't like.
well, I'm just saying that you like he's the antagonist, but he wants to redeem himself and all this other stuff. And when I decided on him,
I didn't know he was the antagonist.
oh, he is. But that's actually good because I wanted to make it so. They always talk about how you're the hero in your own story. Let's use that as a writing principle. Let's make him he's the hero of his story, and that's how I look at it when I'm running from his perspective. Totally agree. Adam says totally agree with Rich, and gender has nothing to do with it. They will do contemporary reboots all the time and slap a franchise name on it, and it's like you could have just called it something else. And that's always been my argument.
Yeah, and I'm not arguing against having a woman as a spy or a woman as whatever. I'm arguing against calling it Bourne or calling it Bond. Or calling it Max. There's no reason to. I think that George Miller could have sold Furiosa just showing some fucking snippets. It would have been like, oh, that's like Mad Max. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He didn't have to. He didn't have to go into all that saying in Mad Max or putting Mad Max in it, and it not really being anything like the Mad Max that we know.
See, I always think about
the other movies.
If you look at Ocean's 8, that was the all-female one, supposedly. And it's got its definite flaws. Like, that movie pisses me off. But at least when it was Ocean's 8, it's a different ocean. It's Danny Ocean's sister. And it's not the same Danny Ocean. It's a different ocean. And it makes perfect sense. And they could have done Ocean's 8, and if it had been written well, it would have been great. but it wasn't. And it wasn't because that they were women that they made it bad. It's just,
Right.
in a way, what is making them women do? And if it's nothing, then what's the point of making them women? Like there should be.
Or making them make stupid decisions. Like it doesn't matter if it's women or not, but they're using women, and you're making them make stupid decisions. Like that whole Star Wars Admiral chick that didn't tell anybody her plans, and her ultimate plan was to go to a planet you can't escape from, and hope other people were going to come to help. That's a dumbass plan, and it abuses all your resources.
Adam
So-
said, it's like the movie The Fall Guy. If they didn't call it The Fall Guy, it would have been the same movie, as the core of all the characters and their circumstances were all different. Didn't need to be that. Yeah. To be fair, I was just surprised. I mean, The Fall Guy was... I realized it's an 80s movie,
Well,
or it's an 80s TV show. And I remember watching it as a kid, although I can't remember why, because... And I'm like, all right, so nostalgia bait. I kind of got that. But I'm like, who was just begging for a Fall Guy anything? Yeah.
What?
Adam said, right, that's a left field play for sure. I'm just saying that I don't know anyone who was really just begging for a Fall Guy property. I think I probably watched The Fall Guy because I confused it a little bit with the $6 Million Man. Because
I watched The Fall Guy, but I was of an
little.
age to be attracted to Heather Locklear, and they were doing stunts. And actually, me and my cousins had been doing stunts, like literally setting up to do stunts in our front yard. You know, talking about being stuntmen. And then that show came out, and it was about stuntmen. And it was like, whoa. So, I mean, that was kind of the attraction for us. You were younger than us, so.
yes. Yeah, when it first came out, I was 2. And probably went off the air when I was 8. More than likely. You know, I have to look at the months. So, you know, when the Fall Guy came out, to some extent, merely walking was a stunt for me. But whatever.
We had these barrels. We set 2x6s across and set them up like it was supposed to be a bar. And we were throwing each other over it and hitting each other with, plastic bottles. I guess it wasn't really plastic bottles, but it was, bottles, not glass bottles. I don't know what the hell it was now. But yeah, we were staging fights.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you're good.
We had a 40-foot tree, pine tree, that we set up and knocked each other down branches and stuff like that. We threw each other off the roof and all kinds of shit. It wasn't safe to be around us. Actually, I've got a little cousin that I think is your age. That
Oh, I'm little.
we he was little at the time.
Okay.
We convinced him to jump off the roof. That was not impressive to my aunt.
You're more.
No, sir.
That's sir, you guy.
No, ain't happen.
You have that, sir.
No, ain't gonna happen.
Have happened.
No, it's not gonna happen.
I can take that, sir.
No, can't.
I can't.
Nope, I've got to hit start.
My fault.
Okay, so I have a question about the art. And this is a bigger question, so it's not a critique, I promise. It's a question. So I was noticing in that video.
That's good. If you want to critique it, you can just do it.
No, I do not want to critique. So in the Isom comic that they were showing, or I guess it was
Isom? No, that was Yaira.
Yeah, Yaira.
Same company, different.
Yeah.
Different. Well, it's supposed to be a different comic, but
They were
not a
overlapping
whole lot.
a lot of panels. If you look, the panel, like, for no reason, they would just be overlapped. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. So
And you're kind of breaking the gutter wall because that bottom panel, you have the chick on the left and she's on the right. And she's blowing this stuff, so it kind of looks like she's blowing it at the guy, but it's actually a different panel, which actually I think is a really neat way of showing that. So, like,
Well,
I like that. That's all good. But I think that's a better way. I guess it's not a comment question. It's more of a comment. I like the way you're doing it a hell of a lot better than the way they did it. Because I can see a reason for
I
it.
guess I'm glad to hear that, but like we follow her coming this way, then we follow her almost to him,
Right.
and then she stops to blow this, and then she's walking past him, which she's walking towards the next page.
Right.
But he's leaning back and turning, so he's facing her this way, and then he's turning to face her this way. So you're kind of being directed by him, and you know that she's walking by him. Because believe me, I did a lot of thinking before I composed this panel.
Well, I like it. I approve.
And right now, I'm trying to de-age her, because the more lines you put in something,
Oh, I know.
the older that they appear. But yet, I want to show that she's partially in shadow too.
Yeah, Adam. That's what. Yeah, Adam said. Yeah, I dig it. It's almost like you're showing both her actions, but he almost exists in both frames. Yeah.
Right.
I dig it.
This panel actually leads to that panel, but she's going to be blowing powder, and he's going to have some powder clouded around his face as he's turning here. So hopefully you'll read the action but in the gutters, the action that's between panels. I mean, it's a hope. Some people are going to complain about it, and some people are going to be able to read it. Hopefully more people are able to read it than complain about it. But, you know, that's how we learn lessons, right?
Yep.
And I'm doing all this line work and stuff, and it didn't even occur to me. Remember when I said at the end of this panel, I was like, this is the most comic looking panel I've done so far. Well, that's because we were talking about doing it in grayscale. So if I'm doing it in grayscale, I'm going to use Copic markers to do the grayscale. So I don't need all those lines because those lines are representing the scale work. These lines represent where they turn out of shadow into the light. So I don't really need to do those lines, but it's just part of comic book, you know?
Adam, she might be doing something nefarious. As the writer, I'm not sure yet. Or I know, and I'm just going to be a jerk.
I hope he knows because I'm drawing the script.
Yeah. It's my way of saying, I guess you'll have to check us out next time.
Yeah, right. The next page is coming up soon.
That's right.
Coming soon. tough thing is to make sure that she doesn't have an ugly face when it's all done.
Yeah, that would kind of.
I heard all that ugly face talk. I'm like, well, there's a panel that she's going to have an ugly face in, but it kind of really wouldn't work the same if she had an ugly face before that. In a way, I can't wait to ink it.
Oh, that reminds me, Rich. I gotta. I'm gonna put something in the private chat. It's not a big. It's not a. I want to make sure I tell you while I'm thinking about it, but it's not. It's not anything important. I mean, it's important. You need to be told, but it's not about tonight. You'll be fine. So get to it when you get to it. Anyway. Ugh. My son's going to a medical camp, like for high school kids who are thinking about entering a medical field, and it's through Johns Hopkins University and stuff. And pretty cool. We started looking into stuff, and so we're going to have to eventually, drive him to. We could fly him.
Did we talk about this before?
Right, but so I was looking at, or my wife was looking at hotels, and she found one that was like 15 miles away from where the camp is, and it said it should take about an hour to drive those 15 miles. I was like, wow, that's really crappy.
Where is it at?
It's in New York. It's in Queens, to be specific.
Oh, there you go, right there. Hope
Yeah,
it's not lunchtime or rush hour.
I saw that though, and I was like, maybe we'll just get an Uber from him and then not have to deal with it. Because I can say goodbye at the hotel just as well as I can say it at the camp. And if I haven't, blown a gasket from driving in New York, that might be a good thing. After we went to Ohio, my wife was like, you can drive like 90% of the way there, but I don't want you driving in New York. It's like, why? Because you'll have a heart attack. I'll rage monster at somebody. Like, no, I won't. But when she showed me that thing about 15 miles is going to take an hour, I thought, oh, you can walk it that fast. Not that I want to send my kid to New York and have him walk for the first, That sounds terrifying. Actually, as it gets closer to the camp, I'm getting more and more nervous about it just because I'm like, I've never been to New York. I've certainly never been there alone. And, he'll be out of camp, but still, it just makes me nervous.
I love you, kid. Way it should be.
So, I still have not made it through episode 3 of The Acolyte. And part of that's because I'm evil. A, I don't think it's that good of writing. But B, I was distracted by one of the actors, or actresses, I guess, because I was really not sure if it's a younger girl character, and she's one of the twins, and I guess they hired actual twins for the role for the children, because I looked it up later. But when I first started watching, I was like, that one looks a little, I'm not sure what gender that is. And I thought, man, if you're using kids to push this, that might be a little too far. But they weren't. It was just, they're kids. It's kind of hard to tell. And one of them is, even though they're twins, one of them's a little bit more masculine than the other in the face, and the structure of the nose and whatnot.
Usually one is rounder face, and one is more of a thinner face, usually with twins. I've found anyway.
Adam said, I've heard it's bad. I generally stay away from anything Star Wars these days. Thank you for taking one of the team to save me from wasting my life. Oh, thank you for telling me I'm wasting my life. uh, yeah. And it was kind of funny though. So I'm watching this third one, and I still haven't been all the way through, but they were doing this thing that I just read. Like I saw a video on writing where the guy was talking about James Bond um, in, I think it was Spectre. Whichever one opens up, and it's like a Day of the Dead celebration. He blows up a building on accident.
Yeah, it's either, I think it is Spectre, but it's either that one or the last one.
Right. I think it's Spectre then.
Yeah,
And
I think so. I agree.
It was talking about, here you have, James Bond has to go and do X, but if you notice, he's also doing something else. Like in the beginning, he's macking on some woman, but that's so he can get to the right spot, so he can go do his spy thing. And so you have multiple things kind of happening at once. And the really good example was, it's like he has to talk to Moneypenny, and he could just go. There are plenty of films where he goes to the office and talks to Moneypenny.
Yeah, right.
And they're like, and this is what a bad writer, or he didn't say bad. He said this is what a novice writer will do. Instead, James Bond in that film is on the phone in a car chase getting information fed to him from anybody. And I got to thinking about how that could make a boring scene way more interesting. Plus, it all makes sense. Like it wasn't like it's just they threw in a car chase because you need some action. It all made, it all was cause and effect. It made sense. And I'm watching this Acolyte, and I'm like, oh God, this is what that guy is talking about. Like, they have to do X, and then they do Y, and then instead of doing multiple things at once, the scene has one purpose and only one purpose, and that's what we get stuck with. And I'm like, and I think that's what actually makes this kind of a boring show. These people don't know how to make the scenes do more than one thing at once, and so it just seems meh at best. And then you start throwing in some of the political stuff, and yeah, I can see why they're it's not just the political stuff though. It is a lack of quality in the writing, I think. Says the guy who's never made anywhere near as much money as those people have for their writing. But it's still, I guess, I don't mind some of the stuff. Like, some people are upset because some of the stuff that's going on, and I can understand that, because they completely made Anakin not special. He's, it's kind of like what Loki did to the Infinity Stones. Just made them, they're paperweights now. That's it. I think Leslie Headland, or whatever her name is, has turned Anakin into a Yuletime log. That's about it. Adam said it feels like a dark ride in an amusement park where you are in your cart, you're on one path, just tooting along, hitting all the marks with no real engaging substance. I hope that's what you're saying about Star Wars now, not us.
Yeah, we have no real substance anyway.
Yeah, we tried.
No, none of us were fooled into thinking we had real substance.
Yeah, the Acolyte's probably the first Star Wars property where I'm not even really all that thrilled with the design of it. Like if you think about the prequels and all the problems that the prequels have, they still look amazing. Oh yeah, Adam, I thought Andor was great. You know, like again, looking at the prequels and looking at like Darth Maul, that design is amazing. Fantastic. Don't like how they used them, but although it got better. Yeah, Adam said the prequels were perfect. Just kidding.
Perfect garbage.
But
That's where I started getting disenfranchised.
yeah, I mean I can understand. Although I still go back to my James Bond movies. Some of those movies are not that good. I still enjoy James Bond, and I just kind of ignore the stuff I don't like, I guess. But this one doesn't even have a good design. Like the villain in this one just looks stupid. It just the fighting style has been the only thing that's really gotten me through this. I guess the only thing that's really been worth watching. They lost me at my Florians. Yeah. I agree, Adam. And that was an unforced error. That was, I think, to me, that's a great example of George Lucas needing an editor, needing a filter. I mean, if you look at all the changes that happened to the original Episode 4, things that budget force, changes, just actors were saying, lines were terrible. He was influenced. He had mentors. He refined it down to the gem that it is. And I don't think the prequels were very, it's just he's rich, he can do whatever he wants, and he did, and it kind of he needed a better storyteller.
Some of the prequels were intended to complete the things that he didn't include from Campbell's hero's journey.
Yeah, but
no, that's literally what he said. That
I get it.
The things that were included were to do that, but in the process, he destroyed a lot of what he had. For instance, until the prequels, right?
Right.
I thought being a Jedi was special because you had to have faith for that shit to work. It wasn't like, oh, you just was born with the ability. You had to actually concentrate and believe and have faith, like Yoda was teaching them,
Right.
You can do it. But really, what they're saying is Yoda was full of shit.
Well, that seems to be an Adam. I'm going to link this to Adam's comment. Adam said, and why does everyone who gets a chance at making something in that sandbox have to reinvent everything? Do clothing designs, do lightsaber designs, do this, do that. On one hand, I would say that expanding everything that's a selling point. I'd say generally that's a good thing, but you don't have to shit on what came before. So
but that's not expanding when you do that. That's doing something else.
Well, I'm saying when so you're complaining that they basically are making Yoda out to be a idiot coward.
They changed what they were saying.
Right.
It was religion, right? But
Right.
it's not a religion if you look at it in anything else. Only the original trilogy is a religion.
And that's what I
So
mean.
they,
I mean,
they changed it, right?
I don't mind having new ship designs. I don't mind having, I mean, all that stuff is interesting if done right. But when you make it's like you have to tear down the Jedi Order. You got to tear down Yoda. You got to tear down Obi-Wan. You got to tear down what Anakin did. And make him not special and all this stuff. It's like you should not be having to tear down what everyone loved so that yours could look better. Like it's just wrong. Adam said, totally agree with Rich. There are a lot of things set up that they had to continually retcon to make new shit. And I have my own conspiracy theory here, but I'll leave that for another time. Okay.
Oh, feel free.
Yeah. How's your conspiracy theory?
I'm not sure it's a theory. Yeah, my problem is George Lucas, when he re-released the movies, I don't know how many people realize it because he didn't send the original movies to the Library of Congress. Instead, he changed stuff that was in there, like when Ben Kenobi was talking to Luke the first time, or no, it wasn't the first time, but when he was telling him that he knew Anakin, his father, he was saying he was an experienced pilot and all this other stuff, which he clearly wasn't by the prequels, but they took that out. They took that out when they re-released it, so kind of, when you watch Star Wars as many times as I have, and I think that's part of my problem with all that stuff, is that I've watched it so much. You know what I mean? It's not like I just saw the trilogy and then I went and watched the prequels. I've been watching the original trilogy almost since it was out. I didn't see the original Star Wars in theaters, but I did see the original Empire Strikes Back. So it's been that long that I've been watching it with certain understandings. So when they were going to do the prequels, I came into it with expectations. And I wasn't paying attention when they re-released it in theaters. I just wanted to see some of the stuff in theaters that I hadn't seen when it was released originally. Like I didn't see Star Wars originally in theaters, so I went to see the re-release of it because I hadn't seen it in theaters. But then I didn't notice that little slip that they changed what Ben Kenobi said originally. So I don't know. Actually, I haven't watched it for continuity enough to know if they changed Han Solo's comment about it being a Hokie religion either. Because it was a religion when Han Solo was commenting on it, and it was a religion when one of the generals on the the original Death Star made some comment about it before Vader force choked him for the first time.
You think that's a force choke?
Yeah, right. I didn't say what he was force choking. And honestly, if he was force choking the chicken, I don't want to know. That's like Ben Kenobi when he's fighting Vader. He's like, he calls him Darth for short.
Yeah.
He doesn't call him Anakin. He doesn't,
That's just dog.
Yeah, he says something about dark. I'm like, wait a minute. If that's not his name, and dark is a title, that would be the equivalent to him calling him Lord or something, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose you could call it he's a Darth. So it's a little weird, but
So basically, what you're saying that you dropped in the comment,
yeah,
and that's all right, is that you're not going to be here Saturday? Next
Yep.
Saturday. But, you know, that's the first week off of school for Eli, so might be a good excuse to enjoy that time for a Saturday, take a Saturday off, or maybe we'll stream on, well, you can't, if you're leaving on Saturday?
Yeah.
So we could do a short stream or something on Friday maybe, or we'll figure it out. Or we'll just take the damn day off. Actually, I was thinking about doing a non-comic related drawing, and I think I owe Jesse some artwork if he has decided what he wants. Maybe it'd be an excuse to do something different. I've been really wanting to, and this is weird, but I'm really wanting to kind of do a rendition of Doctor Doom.
Okay.
And Adams, you're gonna have to read it.
Well, I posted it up on screen.
Well, I can't read that.
Oh, all right. Sorry. Adam said there was also no Jedi Council. The Jedi were a Buddhist-type religion that had reformed from war by sending their Organa. Not something that was helping run the government for thousands of years like everything after. That's most of it anyway. I can't find that book, but I swear I read it.
Oh, if you're talking about like Star Wars canon books, they're not canon anymore. That's one of the things Kathleen Kennedy did right when she fucking first took over. Nothing is canon anymore. That's why we're not getting. That's why we're not getting. Oh, what the fuck? The blue dude, General.
Oh, he's in the. I know what you're talking about, and he's in the.
Thrawn. No, we're.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we're not
Ahsoka.
getting Thrawn. What I'm saying is we're not getting Thrawn as he appears, as he was written.
Adam said it's a more behind the story type book for the original trilogy book with diagrams and outlines and ships and stuff.
What?
Adam said the book.
Okay. No. It took me a second. Yeah. It took me a second for it to register because I've got a fan in my ear too. So I'm only hearing like a part of what you're saying. So you're saying like it was one of the Science of Star Wars type books or something about continuity, right?
I believe that's what he was saying.
More.
No, stop. What did I just tell you?
What you got?
I did not say yes.
No.
Nope. There are people that can hear. He's trying to convince me that he loves me more, and I'm telling him that he can't. I've loved him since he was in the womb. I've got a head start.
Ah.
And he's like, I said, what did I say? And he's like, you said yes. That's not what I said. I said no.
drinking water. It's like my time should have.
Yes, I know you wanted to go for a ride in the dump truck with Jared tomorrow.
You
Or
like that?
Saturday, not tomorrow. Tomorrow you got an appointment, right?
No, that's what I.
What? Tomorrow you have an appointment. I was there when your mom took the call. It's funny, he loves to argue, so he's a contrarian.
I'm shocked.
He didn't get it from me.
Of course not.
You should hear his older brother.
Yeah.
You think I'm bad.
Well, thank you, Creative Faye, and welcome to the Gordox Club. Creative Faye said it's looking good.
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
You do, actually. He's not just talking out his ass. And this time, he's speaking for both of us.
I could talk out my butt. I do believe I'd be on America's Got Talent. Adam said, no, that's me with my theories.
The whole talking out your butt thing it brings to mind the fart conversation. If anyone farts around here, the cat gets the blame. Usually it's Eli blaming the cat. But Amanda, if she farts, it sounds like a trumpet blast. It sounds like she's doing the end of the Muppet Show.
Adam said if he could talk out his butt, he could argue with himself.
I can argue with myself. I don't even have to talk out of my ass.
Or,
Now the trick is, can you win?
taking a bunch of shitty ideas.
It's not whether you can talk out your ass. Whether you can win if you argue with yourself. There you go. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
What I tell you?
Yeah.
You're a chump. Right? No.
All right. Creative Faye. Creative Faye is asking, what's the premise of Mastiff? So I'm going to do my best. Your feed died. I don't see that. I don't know. Adam said, oh no, feed died, but I'm seeing everything. It still says it's right. Anyway, so Mastiff is a character. He is an enhanced individual in a post-apocalyptic world where the environment has been, let's just say, nature is getting revenge, and Anyway, so ultimately it's a murder mystery kind of thing. It's kind of an espionage thing. And Mastiff is kind of going to have to go through and figure out the mystery.
Murder mystery in a post-apocalyptic time. But the apocalypse is a different kind of apocalypse than we're accustomed to.
Well, that's because I made it. Yeah, because the environment is crazy. Crazy. Adam said it's back up, so it must have just been him. I hope, because I didn't say anything.
What's that?
Adam said, remember he said, oh no, feed died? And then it said it's back up just for a second. Might have been me. In Creative A, we are trying to. Rich and I are both published writers. Rich has also done illustrations, and so we've never done a graphic novel. So we decided to try to construct pretty much the entire thing on screen. So I write the script. Rich refines it into the artwork. And that's
that is not true. Excuse me. No, I've got to mute for a second.
Okay. So I don't know what that was about. That was just perfect timing because as soon as I said Rich refines it into the artwork, that is not true. But that is what happens. So.
No, he was trying to tell his mom that I told him his doctor's appointment was next week. When we just went through that, and I told him that that's not true. It's tomorrow.
But
Saturday, tomorrow's not Saturday.
So we're going through, and
that's why I muted. Sorry.
We are doing it on stream so people can see what kind of things go into it. Also to help encourage other people to try things out. Like we've had nights where, hey, Rich and I have gotten into arguments before. You can see at least one of those on. If you really want to go through the channel.
Well, the worst one I deleted.
Yeah.
Because it really served no purpose but just to make us look like assholes. We didn't need any help.
Yeah. And, but it shows the creative process. We've tried things. Like one of our characters is named Shiv. I asked Rich to kind of explore a different avenue. He did. It didn't work. So we went back to the original. Which, that's part of the creative process. It wasn't
on anyway, but I tried it anyway.
He indulged me.
Well, you didn't outright say do it to look like this, but you gave me the impression that was what you were interested in. And I was interested in it too. It just might even have been a bad drawing day. I might have been able to do a better rendition of it if I was, I don't know, maybe it was just an off day. That happens.
But to be fair, I left
one of those off days up on our video history on YouTube because I wanted people to know that, everyone has off days. And something like this where you're creating stuff from scratch, you don't have a pattern to look at or to go by. You're definitely going to have some of them. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, that's... It's what it is. Just letting Creative Faye know.
What's that?
Creative Faye asked, so I was explaining all the stuff. Like technically we started off on a different comic book concept, and Mastiff was a character that we had kind of come up with, but we didn't have a name for him. And as soon as we had a name for him, it was like, whoa, that's the guy. Creative Face said, I've done that, redesign a character only to realize it doesn't work and go back to the old design. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to see.
Right. If it works, and if it doesn't work, why?
Adam said it sounds like an awesome name for a metal band. Okay.
For what?
Mastiff is a good name for a metal band. That might have been why I was so drawn to it. Like, as soon as, because Rich came up with that name, and as soon as he did, I was like, oh, that's the one. That's it. It resonated with me very strong. We need to come up with a elevator pitch for Mastiff, just so when someone says, you know, what's the premise? Boom.
I think we're slowly refining it, though, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the problem. Or the challenge, I guess. It's not a problem, it's a challenge.
Well, it's all problem solving. You're solving one type of problem, I'm solving another.
Adam said it's a good name, and he loves the text logo also. Creative Face, I've redrawn pages too if it doesn't feel right. Well, Creative Face, if you have a link to work, you can post it, I think, and we're happy to promote other artists.
That's right.
Assuming you're not like doing anything super objectionable.
Well, you know, if you are, at least give a heads up, like it's a rated X thing or rated R thing or whatever.
Yeah.
If you really feel the need to do that,
yeah.
Like, we're not going to promote rated X type things or whatever, but you can put a link to whatever you're doing as long as you credit it to what you're doing.
Adam, there's going to be a murder, which leads to a larger conspiracy that Mastiff has to deal with.
Yeah, it's not solely about the murder. The murder leads him to what it's really about, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Funny how I'm working on the continuity after the fact, right?
Well, yeah.
All that really matters is the continuities on the page because these characters are still being refined. I think the main two characters in this part though are refined now.
I think it's looking like a real comic.
Ooh, that's a good thing.
Well, yeah, generally.
Especially if we're trying to make it look like a real comic.
Creative Face said, currently only have a few pages up on Instagram. I'm in the process of laying out more pages for early chapters.
What kind of comic is it? What's it about? What's the premise? Turn that question on back on you. It's not as easy to answer, huh? Especially when you're in the creation of it. It reminds me of talking about writing a synopsis. Like if you're writing a synopsis for publication, it's sometimes a lot easier to have someone else write the synopsis because you're so close to it that you're like well, this is not included in that synopsis, so that's not included in that synopsis. But really, it's only the main points of the story that should be just enough to get you interested or to sell whoever is going to read about it. My pencil sharpener.
Creative Face said, it is a dark fantasy about a boy that believes he is cursed and on a journey to find the place where wishes come true.
Is the boy trying to remove the curse?
I'm hearing Dave Matthews in my head, and it makes me chuckle. Rich, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you might not be all that familiar with Dave Matthews.
That's not a very big limb.
Do you know the song Crash?
Maybe.
There's a wonderful line in it where, it's this nice little slow romantic song. It says, hike up your skirt a little more and show the world to me. And just that thing about boy going where wishes come true. And I'm not making fun of anything that you did, Creative Fades. I'm really making fun of Dave Matthews, but it just reminded me of that. Or I'm just a dirty old man. One or the other. Or both. Who knows? Don't need a false dichotomy. We can just stay on both. Oh. So that short story that I was working on, that I had the idea for yesterday, and I made like a story Bible kind of thing going for it. And I just noticed, because I have it up on my screen because it's white, so it helps illuminate me. But Google was underlining in red the word woman, and another one where it's rivers, as in river apostrophe S, because it's a person's name.
Rivers person, yeah.
But so rivers, they're it's confused because it thinks I meant like plural. And with the woman one, I'm just, the character's last name is Rojas, and I don't know if they think it. I mean, I guess they think it should be plural because they're dumb. I don't know. Adam said, "I like your log line." I'm assuming you're meaning creative face. Like the lead singer of Weezer. And creative face said, yes, he's trying to remove the curse so he can return home.
So that's the actual plot, though.
Yeah.
So when I asked this, what the story's about, he's a cursed boy trying to remove a curse. The whole different
Yeah, but there's
land thing. Well, you know, like there's
that's reduced quite a bit. Because I
it
mean,
is
there's
reduced, but it's the type of story. So
that's true.
She didn't get specific on what the curse is.
I'm just thinking, if
I
you,
said she. Are you a she? Am I making an assumption because it says creative Faye?
no, I don't know. It could be, I don't know.
Well, I'm asking because you know it's quite possible that I just did that. And
You too.
did you say she though?
I don't know. Yeah, Adam, I finally got that. I didn't get it at first, but when you first said it, I was like, what? But yeah, then I figured out, yeah, River Cuomo. Rivers Cuomo.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm guessing that you haven't read the Rivers of London series.
I had that on my agenda.
So the Rivers of London series, the rivers are like the Thames and the actual rivers, but they're also gods and goddesses. I guess that's in defense of Google should know better because the Rivers of London series is a best-selling series, and I almost guarantee Google Reads has got stuff on it.
Adam said the moment is lost. I guess, but
What?
he's referring to his reference, I believe, to Weezer. I was just slow on the uptake.
I'm hoping I just didn't drive a viewer away because I presumed it was a girl. And I wasn't trying to be insulting. The only people that I know that use the term "fae" in nicknames are females.
I have a character named Silas the Fat. You've read him.
Yeah, but that's you using it, not a, you know, you're not using it for you. You're using it for a character. either way, like that's actually the reason I stopped and went, hey, am I misgesturing you? Like, I hate that I have to think about it these days, but I guess I don't want to insult anybody intentionally, unless I want to insult them intentionally. Usually, there's some cause behind that. I don't just want to insult anybody intentionally for nothing.
Gray to Faye said, "There's a little more to the story. There is a reason why I said he believes he's cursed. Yes, I am female. You're to guess that Aaron the Presty thought I was male."
What's that? Aaron Lepresti did?
Aaron the Presty thought, yeah.
Yep, okay. Cool. So we run in some of the same circles. I love to watch Greybeard. I have Aaron's Wraith of God books.
Okay, I'll be right back. But I must be seeing the name of the dog.
There's a reason why I said he believes he's cursed. I guess I missed that you said he believes he's cursed. I thought you said it was that he was cursed. But either way, I mean, like if you know what the curse is, that's what a log line is. You want to. A log line is saying it's like. So I'm guessing you know what Inglorious Rex is. The log line for Inglorious Rex might be it's Godzilla meets mixed martial arts. That's what a log line is. It's a selling point on what the hype of the genre is. An elevator pitch is you're in an elevator with an editor or a publisher, and you have the amount of time that it takes the elevator to get to the next floor or whatever to sell them on what your idea is. So, I mean, a lot of times it'll be a log line, but it also could be a short synopsis. So it's just something to get them interested to do this flowing and say it's a cursed boy, but what is this curse? If you let people know the curse is if he's searching for a cure for the curse, it probably is not a secret. It's not like giving anything away to tell them what the curse is. Like there's a book called I Am Not a Serial Killer. And it's about a boy that is a sociopath. And because he knows he's a sociopath, he has these rules for himself so that he doesn't become a serial killer. But
is that Dexter?
That right there. No, it's not.
Well,
that right there should sell you on the idea. But if I was to give you a log line of that idea, it's 12-year-old Dexter meets anime demon. You know what I mean? So that takes it in a whole different direction. It's no big secret, but the selling point is that it's a child that knows he's sociopath, that he has sociopathic tendencies, because also sociopaths are usually smart, and he's trying to make sure that he's not going to be a serial killer. So that's a sell. You know, those people that are interested in that type of fiction will snatch that up just based on that little short snippet. So
Adam, so there are two things. Adam says, "Let the fact that he cares make him not a sociopath." And not necessarily, because if you recognize that it's dangerous to yourself, not that you think it's necessarily wrong, you just recognize...
Yeah, well, sociopaths know right from wrong, they just don't care.
Right. So this might be simply a matter of safety.
Yeah, he just doesn't want to be a sociopath or a serial killer. He doesn't want to be a serial killer. It's not that he doesn't want to be a sociopath; he just doesn't want to be a serial killer. But his mom is owns a morgue. So I mean that's.
And then Creative Face said the log line is the core of the story. You can do the comparison of existing material or the core of the story. Adam said in that creative way, by your initial one, I do want to know more, so good there, can't wait. And then Adam said, share after I posted self-preservation. I step away for like 1 minute. What's the A stand for? As in my initial? I was named after that character in the A-Team. I mean, that show came out after I was born.
Rabbit?
DA, you know, bad attitude. Bad attitude graphics. Because it was the 80s, and you couldn't say badass on TV. But, no, it's just my middle name. It's Aaron. Or as some people like to say, Aaron.
So you were named after that guy in the Bible.
At least one of them, yeah.
Well, the guy in the Bible actually did a lot of the stuff that Moses gets credit for. He's the one that held the staff up, and he's the one that threw the staff down. He's the one that actually said the words, "Let my people go." And just an interesting side note, I guess. Well, this wound that opened up on my hand just wants to bleed. I put fake skin over it, and it's bleeding right underneath this fake skin.
Oh, I see that all the time. That last bell of the day rings. None of the kids know what I'm talking about, but I do. So.
What?
Oh, Adam said I can totally see you singing that. And I like to sing the "Let My People Go" whenever it was time for class to be over.
Well, I'd like to sing it with Metallica.
Okay.
Now, let my people go.
I think we should all channel a little Chevy Chase from Vacation. Adam asked if I was channeling Chevy Chase from Vacation. I've become a middle-aged dad, and therefore I feel like Chevy Chase was channeling me.
Chevy Chase is an asshole.
Yeah, I've seen that. I'm just saying, for that movie, he's making fun of middle-aged dads, and well, that's what I am, man. So, or if you listen to my children, I'm an over-the-hill dad who's quickly becoming decrepit and falling apart.
Yeah, that's because, they want to make you weak.
So, Creative Faye wants to know what are the titles of the things we publish, and Rich can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's all been short stories, right? Like no novels.
Short stories, novelettes, and novellas.
Okay, that works. So, hold on a second.
But I'm currently co-writing a novel, writing a novel of my own, and editing one of my own novels. and writing a novelette for pay.
So the last thing I was published in was Divergent. This just came out this year. Divergent Realms. No, the link has not come through. At least not that I can see. I don't know how to fix that. That doesn't show up on my screen.
I've got a bunch of upcoming stuff that I don't know. I've been paid, but I don't know for sure when it's going to be released.
So this is the last thing I was published in. Rich, were you part of the Planetary series?
Yep. I've been in 3 of the Planetary anthologies.
I was in 2 of them.
It was Earth, Neptune, and
I had Jupiter and Neptune.
Jupiter. That's the other one.
2 wildly different stories for me. Just
me too.
Wildly different.
The one that was in Neptune was basically steampunk.
That's funny because that was more. Mine, I would guess, would be closer to magical realism. That's the one that was in Neptune, which of the 2 stories, that's my favorite. The other one is Jupiter was, it's steampunk, Weird West. and I enjoy it. But
The one that was in Jupiter was it was an alternative telling of Troy, kind of from a different point of view. It was from one of the soldiers that's inside Troy and to Aeneas, who was rescued from Troy and then supposedly created Rome.
so I'm just gonna guess here, but yeah, Creative Fairy, is your name April? Well, I'll just show her stuff. If that's what it is, I've got it up on my screen. But I don't want that. No. All right. It covered it up. I don't know what it did. Okay, what is it? I agree. It is cool. Let's see if that works. Yeah.
Are you sharing it?
Well, I'm not going to share it because it wants me to sign in and I don't have Instagram. Or if I do, I don't remember what the password is. Really? Maybe I do have an Instagram. That'll be. Oh, I have one. Oh. They disabled my account last year. Huh. That's neat. Well, I got to see it for a minute, and then it started asking me for a password, and I was like,
well, let me see if I can get to it.
Which is why I put it. You can copy the link, Rich.
I can't copy the link.
You can't copy the.
Nope, because when I mouse over it, it asks me if I want to show it on screen.
Well, just look up Creative Faye with an underscore between them. It's super easy.
I'm kind of unhappy that it doesn't show me. I got Instagram, so let's do it that way.
I actually have an idea for an Instagram finally. It took me a long time. I've got an idea for one. But I've never understood people who just get an I'm like, I don't, what for? Like if you're an artist, I get it. Like you're showing off work,
Right.
But, like I just listen to teenagers talk about it all the time. I'm just like, why? So it wasn't until I think I have an idea for one, or how to use it, or something to put on it that I think would be worthwhile endeavor, I guess.
All right, so let's do this. Is there a page that's your favorite?
Creative Faye is asking you if there are any pages that are your favorite, because he'll pull them up on screen, I think.
Yeah, I don't want to pull up one of the comic pages if you don't want me to pull up one of the comic pages, but I see a couple of poster type things, like there's another Spawn, yeah. It's a cowboy Spawn on a motorcycle, looks like he's tuckered out because he's been smoking too much.
Well, if she's directing us to the page and we link the thing on, I don't think she's going to care if you put anything up on screen that she's already put on Instagram.
The double pages are fine. Let me see what we got for double pages. No, if I maybe haven't got to them yet. Yeah, I don't know if I can show them actually just as I'll show the actual page really. That's my best bet because then I can kind of scroll it down. If I click on the pictures, they only show me a smaller picture and then comments beside it. Let's just do it this way. I'm going to share the screen. And there we go. Now I'll scroll down some, click around a little bit. Click around a little bit so we're not just on one thing. This is the spawn I was talking about.
Sweet.
Gunslinger spawn, yeah. I said cowboy, but I meant gunslinger. Oh, there you go. There's something happy. This guy reminds me of the cartoon Robin Hood.
Oh, okay.
Hey, it evokes that memory in me anyway. Some digital paints, looks like. Some good expression.
Hold on. It's going to look like I'm not looking at the screen, but I'm going to look at the screen next to me.
What's that?
Well, I was just explaining. It's going to look like I'm not paying attention because I'm putting it up on my big screen so I can see it better. So, I'm not looking in the camera, and it.
Okay, some good expressions. Looks like both the monster and the person are both startled. Nice. Value rough. I like my values too. It'd be really cool if you could be doing this so I could be drawing, but I'm just cleaning up stuff on the page right now.
Sorry.
No, I just said it would be really cool. I have something like this. Now, I'm going to have to show you mine. Because, you showed me yours. Okay, keep it clean. Keep it clean.
creative face said, "Thanks, guy."
Right. So, my
Switch.
this one.
Oh yeah, I remember that guy.
That was actually painted for my special needs kid. That's Evil Eyes. It actually went to somebody else, but I drew it and painted it in watercolor for him.
Oh, creative, you're fine.
What?
Well, when I read creative's comment about "Thanks, guy," and then she,
Yeah, it was a typo. We got it.
yeah, I wasn't
We got it.
not worried about that at all.
So I'm going to give you a follow on Instagram.
Adam said, "Wait, well, creative said first, pumpkin characters are fun," and then Adam said, "You are a creative color man. That is sick."
Well, this is my watercolor stuff, so this is cheap gouache, and that's watercolor. That's that's my character from the novel I'm editing. A little watercolor sketch.
See, now Instagram makes sense for people who have, artwork. I just don't get it for. I mean,
That's why.
I figured out something to do, but I didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't. It's still going to be a visual thing, but even though I'm actually doing it for my writing.
Oh, it's not like you don't have the ability to do visual stuff. You just have to play around with it. It's been a while.
I know, but it's been decades.
Yeah, you don't lose it, you know.
Uh,
You don't. Because you don't draw with your hands, you don't paint with your hands. You do it with your mind. It's like riding a bike. Sometimes you'll be shaky when you start up, you know what I mean? But
haven't I ever told you the story about the drawing professor that I had?
Maybe.
Well, this guy, he was a cool guy. Oh, hey, you want to change? Look, I'm removing that screen so we can get back to the artwork. And
There you go.
anyway, and Adam said the wolf robot was sick and the cool man thing. Anyway, I was not the most let's just say I didn't necessarily try to get the most out of the money I was paying for tuition. So I didn't always go to class. Let's put it that way. And this guy, he asked me to stay near the end of the course. He asked me to stay after. He's like, I really think, he was trying to get me to take a plant making class with him. He's like, I think you'd be really good at this. And I wish I would have taken him up, but I just didn't really have it in schedule.
No, he was hard work. He just wanted you to stay after school, see your rosy red cheeks.
Yeah, that's it. But he told me he had some drawings that I had done and turned in. And he's like, all right, arrange these pictures from worst to best. And so I arranged them. And he's like, yeah, that's what I'd say too. He goes, now flip them over. I wrote something on them. And on the back of them, he put the days between classes, between each one of those pictures, like from the previous class to that one. And the worst pictures were the ones after the longest amount of time to the medium amount of time, and then when I had a streak of not missing classes, that was the best picture. And I completely. It's not that I can't draw, because I can, but I would be really slow at it, and I'm going to have more days where it looks like crap than where it looks good. And I know I'm going to get frustrated with it. Yeah, I know. It's just... And then also, I mean, just flat out, I mean, I'm working on a novel, I'm working on a graphic novel, I'm working on a short story.
Yeah.
I got a few things in the fire.
Yeah.
And I'm about to get into another artistic endeavor. It's just that this one's going to be three-dimensional, and I think I can do that just fine.
I'm doing the same thing you're just talking about. I'm co-writing a novel, writing a novel, editing a novel, writing a short story, well, writing a novelette, and working on this. So, you know, I can't say that you can't do it, because I don't believe it.
Oh.
However, I will stipulate that you're not going to do it till you're ready to do it anyway.
That's true.
I'm just saying, I believe you can.
Adam, if I don't know. My plan is to do something in a 3D medium, specifically to put it on Instagram. It's nothing all that spectacular, but I think it's fun, and I can highlight stuff from my writing.
Brett used to be a portrait artist, so I don't think that you can't get there again, because the basic principles are there. It's just a practice. You can practice anytime you want.
Yeah. No, part of it's the ego. I don't want to suck, which is funny because I
You know, the funny thing is that the sooner you accept you suck, the sooner you get better.
I know.
I accept I suck. I'm drawing anyway.
Oh, well, that's like I told my boys. Like, you have to be willing to suck at something if you want to get good at it. I will tell you right now, when it comes to physical...
That's not to be confused with you got to be willing to suck something.
No, yeah, wrong story. In creative, I liked your energy in your pictures. I thought they were great. They have energy, they got movement. I think they're awesome. But I was, when it comes to physical activity, I am like, I can't dance, not because I don't have rhythm, which I don't have rhythm, but because I just can't I don't get it. The simplest of things just confuses the crap out of me. And, I started doing Taekwondo because I was tricked into it, because my boys were doing it. And yeah, I was the worst one. Just, I was terrible, but I never gave up. And so now I'm a black belt. And do I know how to do things? And can I see things? And I oh yeah, I learned all that. It took a lot of time. But I was hanging out with my kids, and so that was fun. It's worth it. But I try to teach them, don't be afraid to suck at something. If you want to do it. And really, the drawing stuff, that's what it is. I don't want to suck. And when I'm ready to just accept, you know what, I'm going to have fun doing it, I'll just start doing it again.
That's it. Like, just as long as you're only trying to enjoy it, it's cathartic. And you don't have to worry about impressing anybody. You don't have to ever worry about impressing anybody. Not unless you're doing it to impress somebody, right?
Well, yeah.
I'm not doing this to impress anybody. I'm doing this so that I can say that I really did it. I really worked at it. I really achieved what I'm trying to achieve. And I'm not going
That's
to
one of the
stop
reasons.
until I have achieved what I want to achieve.
My students would often ask if we could read one of the stories that I published. And I was always like, no, because I wasn't going to. There's a lot of pitfalls as a teacher to do that. Because it's real easy to have someone accuse you of just being an egotist and whatever. And I didn't want to mess with it. So I would always tell, I was like, if you want to read my stuff, I can tell you where it is, but I'm not going to teach it. But, that thing about trying to impress people, I would tell them I was a writer and I would show them stuff I was in, not because I was trying to brag, but because, I wanted to show that, I set out to do this and I know what I'm talking about. When I'm critiquing your writing, it's not just that I went to school for it, which, I did, but I also, work at this craft and I sell it. And it's like, you're not going to find a lot of English teachers that can actually say that. In fact, I'm pretty certain I was the only one in my building. In fact, I might be the only one in the district. I don't want to make a complete brag about that because I don't know. But I'm pretty certain with the high school, I was the only one. And from my own experience, I had creative writing classes from people that have never been published. They went to school, they got their MFA, and now they teach. It's like, I had a big problem with that. I learned things from people, which is, I think if you're doing your job as a student, even if you have a crappy teacher, you should be learning something. But I wanted to make sure people knew that it's not just what I've been trained for, it's what I do.
So when I won all the awards that I won, the last show that I went to of the Mad Hatters, which was the last Mad Hatters, I won 9 out of 10 categories, and the only reason I didn't win the 10th category, well, I can assume, is because I didn't enter it.
Well, that does make it harder to win.
But when I came home, I wasn't bragging, hey, look what Dad won or whatever. I put my awards on my kids' laps because they were plaques, and I said, if I can do this, you can do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was the takeaway, is that if you work hard, if you make the next necessary sacrifices, you can win 194, 196 awards, or whatever it is now. And I just was informed that I won a couple more, but that's because you don't ever have to stop entering them, so. And I had somebody I haven't talked to in years tell me that they had won a few. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know that. So. But, yeah, I worked really hard for them, but I didn't work for the awards. I worked to do the best job I could. But I just happened to bring all the people that I could, that I had worked on, to shows to compete. And, the takeaway was to share it with my kids, to tell my kids that they could do anything they wanted to as well, if they worked hard enough at it,
By the way,
Most of the awards that I won, it was because people told me I wasn't going to, or they denied me. And I was like, if they deny me, then I'm just going to prove that they can't deny me. So,
Creative Face said congratulations.
congratulations. Well, these are old. And I was an award-winning tattoo artist for a long time. But like I said, the takeaway was to try to teach my kids that they could do whatever they wanted to their own way, as long as they worked at it and not give up at it. The point wasn't to pat myself on the back. The point was to say, if I can do this, I'm nothing special, I just persevered a little bit more than the next guy. Whatever. Put extra hours put extra hours in making sure that my clients took care of their work or whatever. But if you put in that extra stuff, it pays you back. And it's the same theory, Brett, as when I'm telling you to practice, go back to practicing. You can do it. I know you can. I wouldn't doubt you. I wouldn't doubt it at all. And I've never seen anything that you painted. You've never showed me anything that you painted. You just told me about it. But I still believe it. And I believe in you.
Somewhere in this house, there are some paintings in my house. Unfortunately, I don't know where those are.
Did you say fortunately or unfortunately?
Unfortunately. So.
Well, like I said, I believe you and I have faith in you. So
I don't mind focusing on my writing right now.
Me either. It's really weird. I have days when I don't want to draw. I just want to write. I don't feel accomplished sometimes if I don't get any writing done.
Right.
I feel like I just didn't do anything with the day. I can spend all day doing all this and, turn out a really good page or, really good character creation or whatever. But it still doesn't feel like I've accomplished anything unless I get a page written or a couple pages written, or especially with Sunday coming up, it's crunch time. And I've written a little bit here and there throughout the week, but every day that I stream, we get done at somewhere around midnight lately, and I manage about 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs. Granted, the size paragraphs that I'm writing are maybe 100 words, 150 words. Before I edit them back down.
The Face said, same here. I feel more fulfilled writing and working on pages.
Well, that's one of the reasons that I asked Brett to write for this, is because I'm already writing for 3 or 4 different things. And I've got an article that's being published too. It's probably published this month. That I wrote a couple months back on storytelling and illustration. And I was asked to write it by another writer, but because they needed something to fill this publication, I I actually didn't do it for pay. I did it because this is another nice person that goes out of her way to help other writers or other people of some type of artistic persuasion endeavors.
Creative Faye, were you here when we were talking about Writers of the Future? Because if you weren't, you might want to check out Writers of the Future or Illustrators of the Future.
If I mute myself, don't take it personally.
But if you are eligible, and if it's a free contest, 4 quarters a year, so 4 entries, and the money's good, and the publicity's pretty good, and you get to meet some heavy hitters.
There's some prestige to winning that contest, but
So
also not an easy contest to win.
Oh, well, Creative Faye, I would check out writersofthefuture.com. There's a forum, and it's got stuff about the illustrators too. I obviously pay more attention to the writers part, but I know they have illustrator stuff too. And
Frank Fazzetti used to teach the illustrators of the future classes. Yeah.
But I'm
So
not
I
a paid
also-
fill, but I will promote them.
I also mod at the David Finch fan server, and we have a link to Frazetta talking about art from the Writers of the Future. So now her continuity is done.
Sweet.
Not true.
Creative Faye said that she's on David's server, but just not that active.
Just what?
Not that active.
If you're talking about the server, it goes through spells of activity and inactivity.
I think she was saying she's not that active.
Well, that's why I said if you're talking about the server. Because it does go through spells that some people are busier than others, and sometimes they're busier than others. We've got a couple of mods, and sometimes you see 2 or 3 of the mods, sometimes it's just me there. I think she's leading you on to the next page.
Good.
Now I've got a pretty good perspective on where the lighting is coming from. And I need to do him with the lighting perspective. Then the other 13 people in that picture. Seven people in that picture. And then we can do page 2. I think actually, yeah, right. It's midnight. It's that time.
Yeah.
But that's not quite 4 hours this time. How is that possible?
If we
How
start
is it
at
possible we start at
8:15,
the same time, 8:15, every single time we stream, and we end at almost midnight every time we stream? How is it possible that it's not 4 hours? And
because it wouldn't be. You have to stream till 12:15, and I check out before then. I think you can probably, if you did time lapse video, you could probably watch my eyes begin to droop. When they start off, as it gets closer to midnight, my eyes just, become smaller and smaller. So, are you calling it a night?
I am.
Okay.
This is as much as I'm going to do on this page tonight, anyway.
Yes.
You want to hang out and talk for 10 minutes, and that's one thing, but
Yeah.
it's only 9 there. Where are you? Oh, California too? Are you a California person too? 3 hours. So central? Mountain? Yeah, we are East Coast. Actually, Brett's Midwest.
I know, but we.
We're on the same time zone. Washington. Yeah, so basically, Creative Bay, you're in Washington, and Adams in California. Brett's in Indiana, and I'm in Maine.
Or,
So
some U.S. people.
Washington and Maine, we're about as far as you can get apart in the continental U.S.
Yeah.
Except for Alaska, but that's not really
It's not really.
attached. It's on the same continent, but it's not attached to the
Future dwellers.
future dwellers.
Anyway,
So you can call it a future dweller. We can say that we're the beachhead. We're the spearhead breaking through the line. That doesn't mean that I'm going to bed. I'm just stopping screaming. Brett's
Okay.
probably going to bed.
very soon.
Or writing.
Anyway,
I'm probably not far from Brett anyway. So, as usual, thank you for watching. Thank you for talking. Liking and subscribing if you like and subscribe. Or following if you're followed on Twitch. Good night. God bless. Much love.
peace out.